The BMW i3 is an awesome vehicle, and I have had the privilege of having many of my viewers write into me telling me that. I've had several viewers write that they are so impressed with the vehicle that they're on the verge of buying one. Equally, I've had a whole lot of viewers who write in saying they own an i3 and they greatly enjoy the vehicle. But BMW stopped making the i3 in 2021, and now we're in 2025. So this raises the question, is the BMW i3 still a good vehicle to buy here in 2025? Well, let's talk about that right now. Hi, this is Rich, and welcome to Wings, Wheels, and Wires. So, I've owned my BMW i3 for over 5 years now, and I've really enjoyed it. It is arguably the best vehicle I've ever owned. Likewise, if you look in the comments section in any of my i3 videos, it is full of other i3 owners who have really enjoyed their vehicle. So, when it comes to the question of should you buy an i3 now in 2025, you would think the answer would be an absolute slam dunk easy yes. But as awesome as the vehicle is, it is not for everyone. So let's take a look at who it is for and who it isn't for. Now, before we get into whether you should buy this specific EV, I think it's important to establish whether an EV is right for you in the first place. If you have not already owned an EV, I would strongly suggest you check out this video first in order to determine if you should get an EV. Because if you shouldn't even get an EV, then the BMW i3 probably isn't for you, even though there is a version that might be better for you than any other EV on the market. We'll get into that later. Now, if you've decided that an electric vehicle absolutely is for you, then we start to get into the question, why a BMW i3? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but let's start with the most urgent. See, there's the EV tax credit. Most people are aware of the $7,500 tax credit on new electric vehicles. What most people aren't aware of is that there is also a up to $4,000 tax credit on used EVs. Unfortunately, this tax credit is probably going to be going away on December 31st, 2025, which means you only have a few months if you're going to use it. There is a catch though. You see, the purchase price of a used EV must be below $25,000. Now, if you want a vehicle that was purchased in the last 5 years, this really narrows down your set of options down to pretty much the Chevy Bolt, Nissan Leaf, Mini EV, BMW i3, and an older Tesla Model 3. Now, you might also be able to get a Tesla Model Y for under $25,000, but this is pretty rare and probably has really high mileage. So let's check out the competition, starting with the Chevy Bolt. It is very affordable and has a decent range. However, being a Chevy, it does have some cheap materials for the interior finishes, and there is also the issue of the battery fires. Now, according to Chevy, this has been resolved on all their vehicles, but that said, I would still be a little less than comfortable charging this vehicle in my garage. Next on our list is the Nissan Leaf. Their long-range version does have decent range. The interior finishes are much better than the Chevy Bolt. However, it does have no thermal battery management system, which means that you can expect to have much higher battery degradation than pretty much any other car on the market. Next is the Mini EV. Has great finishes, great handling. Unfortunately, it also has a very short range. This is actually the closest sibling to the BMW i3. Last up is the Tesla Model 3. If you are a Tesla fan or want the smoothest EV ownership experience of a vehicle on this list, the Tesla Model 3 is probably for you. I know for me, I don't like the lack of tactile button controls and the very Spartan interior. I also don't like the front bumper on the old version of the Model 3, so I will pass. Also, some people might include in their decision that they are not a fan of Tesla, or these days not a fan of the owner of Tesla, so they may not want that vehicle as well. Also, because there is still some vandalism on Teslas because of Elon Musk, you may be concerned about owning a vehicle that has a target on its back. If you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button down below. While you're down there, hitting the subscribe button would greatly support the channel. And, of course, don't forget to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Now, you can expand the types of vehicles on this list by a great deal if you want to go outside 4 or 5 years old. However, as you do that, you start getting past the manufacturer's bumper-to-bumper warranty, and you also start getting in the range where you're more likely to have mechanical issues. Also, the potential of having battery issues like degradation increases as the vehicle gets older. And in some of the more extreme cases, you might be getting vehicles that no longer even have a battery warranty, which means any battery issues you have will be your problem. For those reasons, I'm going to steer clear of those older cars, for the most part. Now, this brings us to the BMW i3. It does have very short range, but it also has the absolute best interior of any of the vehicles on this list. Oh, by the way, it's also dent-proof, which means the possibility of getting stuck with one that has dents all over it is a whole lot lower than any other vehicle on this list. Now, it is an awesome vehicle. If you want to understand how I come to that conclusion and make that claim, you should check out my 5-year BMW i3 review right here. Now, why is this important? Well, in my video, Is an EV Right For You?, I talk about two very important factors, being your needs and your environment. And this equally applies to those factors should affect which EV you buy. And the BMW i3, with its various range versions, meets a variety of different needs and environments, especially since the BMW i3 has a secret weapon that no other vehicle on this list has. As a matter of fact, no other vehicle on the market in the United States has, which is the ability to use gas if you need to. Now, for anyone not familiar with the BMW i3 range extender, you're probably thinking to yourself right now, so this isn't an EV, it's a hybrid. To which I'll say you're half right. It is indeed a hybrid, but it is also an EV. For a full breakdown of what I mean by that, you can click this link right here that describes that. Now, for those who just can't be bothered to click on links, let me give you a quick summary of what it covers. All other hybrids effectively fit into the category of parallel hybrids. What that means is you have a gas drive system that powers wheels, an electric drive system that powers wheels. In the case of a serial hybrid, your small gas engine does not power the wheels at all. It basically just serves as an electric generator to charge the battery in order for the electric system to power the wheels. This comes with a variety of benefits and drawbacks. For a breakdown of that, you can go ahead and watch that video I mentioned to get more details. Now, there is one specific benefit that we're going to cover later on in this video. Now that we've covered the competition and why you might want to consider a BMW i3, let's talk about which one is right for you. We'll do this by going over the various configurations of the vehicle, starting with the first generation, which ran from 2014 to 2016. Now, these vehicles are well past their bumper-to-bumper warranty, and many are already past their 10-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty. Vehicles from this generation will have a notable amount of battery degradation. So, of your original 81 miles range that you had on this vehicle when it was new, you could have easily reduced the max range into the 70s, and in some really bad case scenarios, may even find yourself with a maximum range in the 60s. This is absolutely not a road trip vehicle. You can expect to spend probably 1 minute charging for every 2 minutes of driving, which would make a 4-hour road trip into a 6-hour road trip. So, who would want this first generation of i3 and why? Well, for people who only ever use it for short commutes and around town driving, this could more than meet your needs, and they're very affordable. Let's take, for example, this one right here that's $5,900. Then you get to subtract the EV tax credit. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's $4,000, but that's not entirely accurate. It's actually 30% of the cost of the vehicle up to a $4,000 credit, which means on this vehicle, you would actually get a credit of $1,770, leaving the total cost of the vehicle at $4,130. But what if you sometimes need more range than what you have in a battery? Well, at this point, you might want to consider getting the range extended version. In this first generation, there's practically no price difference between the battery version and the range extended version. And remember that warranty issue I just mentioned? Well, if you live in a CARB state, then you would actually have the warranty on the battery go out to 15 years and 150,000 miles. And this is not just the battery, but it actually includes a lot of battery-related components up to and including the air conditioning. Now, if you're going to need more range on a daily basis and have a little bit more money, you might consider going with the second generation BMW i3. This offers electric-only range on a battery-only version of up to 150 miles, and on the range-extended version, range up to 97 miles. Now, I really question these values because I have the range-extended version, which should get the 97 miles, but the shortest range I've had on a full charge was 108 miles, and that was when the battery was cold. With the battery pre-conditioned, I had values all the way up to 121. just in this past month. This version ran from 2017 to 2018, which means that while the bumper-to-bumper warranty is still long gone, most vehicles from this generation still have some amount of battery warranty left, even if you don't live in a CARB state. You can expect some amount of battery degradation has occurred, but in most cases it has not been sufficient enough to actually lower your range. This generation of the i3 is good for people with longer commutes or who just plain do a lot of driving each day. And with the range extender, you can comfortably do shorter road trips. Now, for longer road trips, this vehicle will still struggle, and you can expect to get just a little under 3 minutes of driving for each minute you spend charging. This added convenience, however, does come at a cost because most i3s in this generation run between, say, $9,000 and all the way up to $18,000. Still need more range? Well, maybe the third generation of the i3 is right for you. The BEV only version gets range up to 153 miles, and the range extended version gets a range of up to 132 electric only miles. This version should more than meet most people's daily usage requirements. And while it is still not an ideal road trip vehicle, it is much better. You can expect to spend 1 minute charging for about every 4 minutes of driving. And if you have the Rex version and you combine the 132 miles of range with the range extender gas range, by the time you run out of both, you're probably going to need to stop, stretch your legs, and go pee anyway. This generation ran from 2019 to 2021 when the vehicle was discontinued. As a result of their newer ages, not only do almost all vehicles in this generation still have their battery warranty, but many still have their bumper-to-bumper warranty. And if you buy it as a BMW certified, they'll tack another year of warranty on top of that. This vehicle is the most expensive generation, though, with prices ranging up to and even beyond that $25,000 mark. So you do have to be careful. As a side note, if you find a dealership with a i3 in this generation that is only slightly above that $25,000 mark, it might be a really good negotiating point to try to talk them down just below. If it's $25,900, you can go, hey, I'll buy it at $24,999, and then you're able to get the tax rebate at that point at the full $4,000. Now we've come to the point in the video where I would love to hear from you down in that comment section below. Do any of these versions of the i3 work for you? And if so, which one? And of course, if you are an i3 owner, let folks know down in the comments below how your experience has been. Also, don't forget to stick around for the subscriber shout out. And here's a video that I think you're really going to like.
And now it's time for the subscriber shoutouts. If you'd like your own shoutout, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and either make sure your name is visible or put in the comments down below that you subscribed.
Tony AR, Crystal Gazer KG, Victor Young, thanks for subscribing.